The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle, where you can access your full potential right now. Finally break free from destructive habits. That dream life, if you want it, you can have it. This is where you transform your health, mind, business, and relationships. Or do nothing and keep your life the way it is. But if you're ready for change, you're in the right place. This is where you're gonna learn how to live a habit-based lifestyle. You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
The habit of faith. I have a very special guest, Mrs. Brooke Thomas, who is an empowering 7-figure entrepreneur, business coach, mental wellness warrior badass, high-performing sales boss, and host of the brand new podcast Live Out Loud show. And this podcast is amazing. It's for anyone who's tired of playing small. Brooke, I want to welcome you to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. So I'm excited to hear. Yeah. So one of the things that I really wanted to talk about was one of the things that I really admire about you, and that is your faith, and your faith and how you incorporate that not only in your personal life, but in your business. Can you kind of touch on that, like where that all started?
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate you recognizing that. It definitely is a habit that I've developed over the last 16 years, really. But it was really that moment at 26 years old, when I found out I had stage 3 melanoma when I was pregnant. Oh, wow. With my first daughter. I don't even know if you know this story.
Yeah. I've heard a little bit of it, but feel free to.
So that was really the moment that, I always thought I had faith, but it was the moment where, you have a death sentence facing you.
Sure.
I was told that I needed to abort the baby and have chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And according to my blood work, they said, this is not going to look good for your future. You probably won't live past 40. That's how blunt they were. So that was the moment where I truly fell to my knees and I cried out and I said, okay, like, what's going on? What am I doing? Like, why am I here if this is happening? I'm 26 years old. I just got married. I'm pregnant. Like, I thought I was healthy. And that just took me down a path to really rediscover who I was, whose I was, and just lean into that faith. And I started to really step into my faith and my higher calling and understanding really who I was created to be. And before that, prior to that, I can honestly say I was just walking around like a people pleaser.
Right.
Like I was genuinely just happy if I made other people happy. And I really didn't understand who I was. And I really wasn't confident in who I was. I was just pretending.
Right.
And that's really how I lived most of my life. And nobody really even knew that. But once I got this death sentence, everything just changed because I was like, wait a second, why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? And it started to just, take me to my knees, cry out and say like, who am I really? And I just started to discover that really through different, really different books that were faith-based.
Right.
Asking God to speak to me, and he would through people, starting to really read the Bible, the living, breathing word. And I didn't understand that it was so impactful. Like I thought it was going to be full of condemnation and, everything that I did wrong and why I would be punished. And I found that there was so much grace and love and hope. And so words just started to, just jump out at me. And so it was definitely a long journey. I mean, this is 16 years ago. So it first started with me, and then it kind of developed into so much of me wanting to make sure that other people felt whole and felt the joy that I felt like could only come from the Lord.
Yeah. So prior to this, like how much, did you go to church? Were you raised, in Christianity, or like, how did that work?
I'm laughing because, okay, so you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. So my biological dad was Catholic.
Okay.
My stepdad, my second dad, his dad was a Baptist preacher. And my mom's side of the family is Jewish.
Okay.
So I was raised kind of doing everything and going to
like
everything.
in the Heinz 57 of religion.
Yeah. I mean, I even did everything you can think of. I've gone to every type of church, even like the Jews for Jesus, like everything mixed. And so I actually like feel like I had
So you were exposed to a lot of different,
yes.
religions.
Yes. And it was in me. And I understood the relationship with God, but I also think that I was super confused probably too.
Right.
And I was probably not in a true relationship with God the way that I started to be once I had that diagnosis.
Yeah. So I would expect that this was, kind of a huge transformation for you. So you get diagnosed, you find out you have stage 3 melanoma. And then what happened after that? I know you talk a little bit about, hey, this is where it started, but obviously like it didn't just stop there.
Right. So it started there because I started to just understand in that moment, like, what am I doing? I started to ask God what he really wanted to do with me. And again, it was definitely not an overnight process. I started to, the first thing I did was I quit my corporate job. Because the first thing I realized is that I was out of alignment with what I was doing in my business. So I ended up getting a business degree in college. Mm-hmm. And right afterwards, I just got a business job in a corporate setting. And I really never felt aligned with it, but I just felt like that's what I need to do. And once I ended up, being pregnant and having this diagnosis, and I actually went down a different road. They gave me 2 options. It was having chemotherapy and aborting the baby. Okay. And they really tried to push that one. But the other option was they could cut the cancer out without any anesthetic. And I had to do it immediately because I was in my first trimester. So 50 stitches later, I felt everything. It was life-changing. I mean, I had this big scar on my side. It looked like a shark attack as the baby grew in the front. It was just huge and keloided. And that took me down a path of going, okay, I don't feel good about myself. I felt like I had this huge gash on my side. I didn't feel like just good about my body, myself. I was also questioning what I was doing. Like, why am I in this job? Who am I trying to please? My husband never tried to pressure me. Brett never tried to pressure me for that job, but it was more of like, I was always told what to do, how to dress, how to talk. You kind
of sound like you lived in a box and, you did everything right. Yeah. You kind of played by the rules. Mm-hmm. But in doing that, what happens to you?
You actually lose who you really are. You don't even know who you are.
Right.
And it was embarrassing for me to say that at 26 years old and finding the man of my dreams, literally. Like, I remember when I met Brett and we fell in love. I remember being like, wow, he is like the real deal. Like, he was the first man that literally showed me what love was supposed to be like. And so I just wanted to keep being like that good girl that just did what I was supposed to do. But he never put pressure on me. But again, when I had that time where I was just like, well, wait a second. They're telling me I might not live past 40. They're telling me this cancer could come back. Right. They're telling me that I could die. And all of a sudden it was just like a punch in the stomach. Like, what are you doing? And so so the first thing I did is I went and got counseling. I went to a therapist because I'm like, I need to talk about all of these things that are going on inside of me that I never really talked about.
Right.
And the big thing that came out that I couldn't articulate before, I can easily articulate it now. I didn't know that I didn't know who I was. I mean, nobody would have ever known that about me. Yeah, but I'm not
sure anybody knows at 26.
Right. Well, that's true too. So, but you think you do at 26. Like, especially if you've gotten to college. You have an idea. You think, right. And so I felt like when I literally was talking to somebody and they said, this therapist, and they said, you don't know who you are. And I'm like, yes, I do. I remember being so offended. I was like, I totally know who I am. Really? Do you really know who you are? And then I just started crying because I was like, wow, I don't even know if I know.
Right.
And so that's what took me down a process to just really, again, discover like my gifts that I was born with, which I was using more towards that people pleasing mentality. Mm-hmm. I realized that those could be used in business in a really great way. Right. And I was just using them in a way that, was for everybody else, which I still do. but not in a way that I was created to live, I don't believe. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Yeah. Let's go back to, you said one thing that really stuck out to me, and it was like, hey, I felt like I wasn't living in alignment. But what does that mean, you know, for somebody who's listening to that, and they may feel this out of alignment, but they don't actually know what it means or like, you know, what it looks like?
I think when you're living out of alignment, you're not in the flow. Like everything feels harder, or it doesn't feel like it's you, but you just keep pretending, or you're covering it up, or, you know, I had, just like we all do, I had many jobs that I'm like, okay, this looks good. You know, I ended up even getting my real estate license. Well, that looks good. I had no desire to do anything in real estate. Honestly, it didn't even do anything for me. All the numbers, all like showing people houses on the weekends. Like, I'm like, why did I get my real estate license? That is not me. But what happened, so I didn't feel in alignment with anything I was doing before 26. And then when I quit my job and I told my husband, I was like, I'm not even happy doing that. Like, I might just want to be home with the kids. And he's like, okay, whatever you want to do. But then I realized, like, okay, I don't want to just do that, because I do have this drive and this fire. I've always been like a high achiever. I've always been into fitness and nutrition. I was just using it a different way. That was the other thing. So I felt out of alignment with choosing careers and different things that I thought, you know, my family or the world would think was great to make me feel smart or look good on paper. But really it was out of alignment because my soul craved always to just help other people, build other people up. But again, I was using it more on the other side, like people pleasing, instead of like in a career. So that's when I started to transition. The first year after the whole pregnancy and after I had the baby, after I got my real estate license and realized, why am I doing that? I started to go down the path of nutrition more. Like I got certified in nutrition. I got back into like fitness hardcore, and it was just fueling me like never before. I was simplifying nutrition. You know, back then, like 14 years ago, that was before like everything was so much easier than it is, you know, than it wasn't easier back then as far as labels and
there was just less information. So there was a little bit easier as far as that, but there wasn't the keto, all these things. There was just like low carb, high carb, or low fat, high fat, and that was about it. Yeah.
And when I started educating myself on like, you know, wild fish and grass-fed beef and understanding labels, I was like, something inside of me, and this is when I knew, okay, I'm in alignment now. I didn't even need to sleep that much because I would wake up with excitement to learn more. I went to bed with excitement about what I learned. And I'm like, there's got to be a way to simplify this for other people, because it seemed overwhelming to everybody else at the time. And I did so many crazy things during that time. Like I ended up going to these like farms and meeting these grass-fed beef farmers and learning all about grass-fed beef and the different types. And I mean, I was discovering all of these crazy things back then when nobody was really talking about it.
Yeah.
And I started to create products around it. I ended up going on this NBC show. And again, when I say like, when you're out of alignment, things are hard. Like when I was doing my, you know, corporate thing, everything just felt like blah, like hard, like it just wasn't exciting. And when I started doing this, it was like, this is my purpose right now. Like I felt so lit up every day. Felt so excited. All the information I was learning, I wanted to create for other people. Like this NBC show happened to like, I didn't even try to get on it. They came to me, and all of these opportunities were just coming at me. And that's when I felt very aligned. And that's where my faith really started to play another role, because I just feel like when you're in alignment with who you really are and what you're really doing out of a pure place, everything just starts to fall into place.
Yeah. So there's these, you know, like a lot of today is like everybody talks about flow and it's all about getting in the flow, but you don't force your way into flow. And so if you're listening to this, you know, understand that, you know, we've been raised in a culture that's like, hey, work hard and you'll get what you want. But I truly believe you have to work hard in the beginning to know what that, you know, commitment feels like. And then you step into this other place, like you're talking about, of alignment. And it's like that working hard is more of like this passion that it's just driving you forward to where you want to go. And that's really kind of what I'm taking away from this is, there's a period of your life where you're going to work hard,
Mhm.
but there's a period of your life where you're going to kind of step into that and things are just going to continue to happen and doors are going to open for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where the faith comes in. That's where the alignment comes in, and more doors open, the more in alignment you get.
Yes. And you have like this energy. I always say, I know I used to say work hard, play harder, because I do believe in playing harder, but I love what I do. So I love my work.
Right.
And now it's transitioned into, Live Out Loud and pouring into women. And it transitioned what I did in nutrition and fitness and wellness into what I'm doing now. But I always think that we should be able to rest in our work. So people love to say to me like, gosh, you're so busy. You do so many things. And I'm like, well, I'm deciding every day what I do, and I love it. And as long as I'm good with my God, my husband, my kids, it might appear to other people I'm super busy because I'm doing so many things, but I love what I get to do.
Right.
And I think there's a difference in resting in your work. And that's one of the things, that my faith keeps me accountable to, because the minute I start to feel like I'm not in rest, and rest doesn't mean like taking a nap.
Yeah. So talk about what this rest you're talking about means.
So to me, that means like your soul is at peace and you can work. And I believe that, you can work in a supernatural way, meaning that you're doing the work that you're called to do, and you can actually feel restful, even if you're working more than other people, or even if you're working harder, or it might appear to be high, like a high achiever, high performer. Some people look at that as like, gosh, she's working a lot. But if you know that you're called to do what you do and you love it, there's actually a peace and a rest that can only come from your soul that you can't explain, that that keeps you going. And so I think that's so important for people to understand. Like when I meet people and they're so stressed out and so frustrated, I'm like, then stop doing what you're doing. Like we all have a choice in this life, and it's not easy always, but why not just choose to do what you love so that you can have that rest?
Yeah. And I think with that is what you're really saying is like, hey, I know what I want. And so the choice is either going to get me more of what I want, but if I don't choose that, then I get what I don't want. And I think, important thing in this is most people walk around and they don't know what they want. And so they get more of what they don't want. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh my gosh, Brooke, like you're so awesome. You're so amazing. You're working so hard. And it's like, well, I am, but I just know what I want. And so choices every single day are like, hey, is this choice I'm about to make get me closer to what I want or further away? And so everything becomes really simple. But I think the key thing in that is like, you got to know what you want. And once you know that, you got to have a burning desire to go get it. And so that's what I see is like, hey, I have a faith in what I want. I have a faith in my God that's going to lead me and open doors that I can't do myself. And I have a burning desire to help people. Mm-hmm. And that's always pushing me forward.
Yeah. It reminded me when you said that, one of the things that I've always been really diligent about, and I do this with Brett, when I know that an opportunity is coming, or I feel like I want to go after something, there's been times where I literally don't even know how I pulled something off, but it was like a download in me. I saw it, I envisioned it. I even envisioned the people being there that I didn't know at the time how I would even get to them.
Right.
And it all happened. And I was praying specifically, we started praying specifically a long time ago where I'm like, okay, this is what I feel, God. So I'm going to believe it's for me, because if it's in my heart, I believe it's for me. So thank you in advance. I know it's done. Every day, that's my prayer. Like, thank you in advance. I know it's done. Just help me make it happen. Open doors, But then I also say, this is the caveat. Like, I'm also like, if I'm wrong and this is out of your will, take it away, and take it away fast. Like, make it so obvious, just take it away. So then I won't be heartbroken. I know it's not for me. I don't want anything outside of your will. So take it away. And it's crazy how many times we've been in situations where so quick it's been taken away. And I'm like, all right, my old self would have been crying.
Why did it get taken away?
Like, oh, this happened to me again. Instead, I'm like, okay, that's not for me. And I'm totally good with it. Because for me, I want to be in alignment with
Sure.
what God wants for me.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I think about when I hear you say that is, people are like, well, when I make this kind of money, then I will believe. And, what you're saying is like, hey, I'm going to wake up every day like I feel like I already have this thing that I want. And I think that's important because, it's like people often go into goals and say, well, I want to make $1 million. Well, you don't actually have the $1 million. You have to envision it. You have to see it before you can actually get it. But we think about goals in a similar way as like, you don't get to see it. You just have to work for it. And like you said, is like, hey, I'm going to pray for it like I already have it and it's coming into my life. I'm going to focus on the vision of it instead of dwelling in this pit of I don't have it.
Right.
I don't know if it's going to come to me or not. And that's one of the big mistakes I think people make when setting goals or outcomes, whatever you want to call them. And really this takes me back to, what would it feel like to already have, fill in the blank what I want. And trusting in that. And trusting in God, trusting in your faith that's going to happen and that's going to come. And that's really what I'm hearing you say is like, hey, I'm doing this every single day. I've actually watched, a few times that like come true for you just in kind of being your friend on the outside, seeing that happen. But it's inspiring and it's cool. And I want you to know that you do actually know what you're doing. And keep doing it, like, because it's working.
Thank you.
So
well, that means a lot. Thank you. One of the things I always say is, walk, talk, and act like it's done. Like until it's not done, then we'll deal with that. But why not just walk, talk, and act like it's done? Especially when I'm talking to women in business, I'm like, you are sitting on a multi-million-dollar business.
Right.
You don't have it yet, but you're sitting on it. So you need to go grow it, which means you need to act, walk, talk like it's done.
Yeah, you need to go plant the seeds.
Yeah, you need. Yeah, and I do believe in the law of the harvest.
Right.
Like if you plant good seeds, the harvest will come every time. You just don't always know when. And everybody's on a different journey.
Right.
And so you might as well enjoy it. And the lessons along the way will only make us deeper and wiser in everything. And I have to tell you one other funny story because I know a lot of times, especially the younger generations, like they want it quicker and faster.
Yeah.
And it's not like I just woke up and it was just like, like any of us, okay, there you have success, I mean, I told you a little bit about like the first job, but there are so many other jobs that, that I walked through that I look back now. I mean, one job I took just because, in sales, they say you have to go sell copiers or uniforms or something like that.
Right.
And I'm like, that sounds so boring. Why would I want to go sell something like that I'm not aligned to? They're like, well, you have to do this if you want the higher level sales. And so I ended up getting this job at a uniform company after college. And this was before the other corporate job. And I literally had to wear a uniform that looked like a gas station attendant with steel toe boots. And I'm like 21, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or 22. And I had to go do all of the things before I got to sell. So I had to go 6 weeks in a factory with no air conditioning, putting patches on shirts. Then I had to go 6 weeks in the laundry truck with doors open and leaving at 3 a.m. with the doors open in the laundry truck. And the guy was wearing gloves because he had warts on his hands from picking up dirty laundry from these factories. And I was like, okay, and so I'm telling you this because I ended up quitting that job halfway through the laundry truck experience because I went to the gas station later that day to get gas and I was already like upset about this job. I'm like, what am I doing? And somebody was yelling at me. 2 men were yelling at me to pump their gas and they were serious. And that was the moment, that was one of the moments, many moments where I was like, what am I doing? This is so out of alignment with me. And like, why am I doing what people are telling me to do when I know I have these gifts inside? Again, I had to go through that though to figure out, okay, I don't want to do this. Let me try this. I don't want to do this. Let me try this. I mean, this has been a series of, events of trying so many things and then getting to the place where you're like, okay, this feels different. So I think that's the whole point, right, of faith.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I want to kind of segue into, you guys have lived in California for how long?
6 months.
Okay, so
7 months.
not
now.
even a year.
Yeah.
You have a similar story with us
Yeah.
but like, can you talk a little bit about, taking that leap of, moving all the way across the country?
I think it was to find you and Katie.
Yeah, coming into a new place.
Yeah.
You don't have any immediate family
Right.
here. But like, can you talk about that a little bit?
That was a huge faith journey. I mean, we felt, okay, so it started almost about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Brett got a job opportunity out in San Diego. And it was the first time we came out to California together, and we fell in love with it. I mean, we were like, what is this magical fairyland that we didn't know about
Sure.
our whole life? Everybody's healthy, they're happy, the sun's shining. And we fell in love with San Diego. And Brett, I mean, we thought that it was done. Like, he got this job, we were going to move. And that was 5 years ago. And that was a big deal back then. And we prayed through it. All the signs felt like this is what we're supposed to do. And
Right.
there was major prayer going on during that time, and everything was a go. And literally we just left our hearts there. Like, that's how much we loved it. And last minute, everything shifted and changed. And they told him, unless we moved to LA, like we had to live in Los Angeles, the job offer wasn't valid. And we have 2 daughters, and at the time their ages, we didn't know anything about Los Angeles. It just
Right.
didn't feel right. And we were this is what I learned through it. We were very rigid with our prayers though. We were like, okay, if they don't get into this, if the kids don't get into this school, and if it's not this area, then it's not from God. But if it is, then, and so we go back and forth now, because as soon as they told us Los Angeles, we're like, nope, it's done. This is not the way it's supposed to line up. So we just let it go. But this is how faith works. It's like, I tried to let it go, but I remember having like heartache for like 6 months.
Right.
Because I was like, I feel like we were supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just something that we just kind of left, and then our life moved on. But there was something that just kept like at us about, is this where we're really supposed to be? I mean, we've had a wonderful experience. We moved from North Carolina. We were there for 20 years. It's a great place to raise a family and live, but we just always felt this itch to like be somewhere else, to be somewhere
Right.
where people were thinking bigger, and there was sunshine and healthier atmosphere. And, but we just thought it was like a dead issue. And then about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I joined the mental wellness company that's
Okay.
right here in Irvine. And I was also doing my Live Out
Yeah, don't
Loud.
be afraid to say the name of it.
Oh yeah, Amare Global.
All right, there you go.
Right here in Irvine. And it is the mental wellness company using the gut-brain axis for healing. And we were just so like excited about this company. We flew out here, went to Irvine. I experienced Orange County for the first time, Newport
Yeah.
Beach, Laguna Beach. And I was like, Brett, I got that feeling again. I was like, Brett, this is like our place. Like, this is our
Right.
place. And so then I didn't really my radar was not even moving, but I said, we can come out here all the time, because of this other company. And then I started doing my Live Out Loud retreats out in Newport instead of Palm Beach and New York,
Okay.
which gave me an additional just excitement for being out here. And then again, all I can tell you is it was totally God. This all happened so fast. It was a year ago, November, right after my daughter's 14th birthday. And we both just looked at each other and were like, don't you want to be out in Orange County like all the time?
Right.
And we just started to say, let's talk to the girls about it. Let's pray about it. Let's put our house on the market early, like January, February. And then we just started praying every day on our knees about it. And we're like, God, if this is from you, make it happen. This is what our hearts want. We started talking to the girls about it. We brought them out here for spring break. We brought them out here for winter break. And we made them like fall in love with it.
Right.
Brett took them surfing, and they just loved it too. And so we wanted this to be a family decision. We wanted the girls to feel that way too.
Sure.
We knew they were going into middle school and high school. So anyway, we just said, if it all, like, we're going regardless. That was the difference. This time we said, we feel it, we know it, it's happening. We will have our feet in the sand by July 4th. We will sell our house by May. We put it on the market, I think February or March. And it was not an easy process. At the beginning, we sold it in 3 weeks and we thought, yes, this is it. Everything's in line. And it was off the market for almost 2 months and they backed out the last day they could possibly back out.
Wow.
So we had a lot of crazy things that actually happened along the way. But the difference this time is we looked at each other and we said, we will be in Newport Beach, feet in the sand by July 4th. And we just kept repeating that over and over and over. We got our girls excited about it. We got the girls into a school out here. Reagan made the cheerleading squad out here. So we're like, well, it's happening, whether this house sells or not, whether we are going. And then ever since then, it's just been, we love it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then we met you guys.
Yeah,
so that was
right.
an added God bonus.
We moved July of 2018.
Oh, see?
So we were like
Gosh, we were
a
just
year
That's
ahead
crazy.
of you.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about this mental wellness space that you're in, and kind of what that's all about, you know, kind of going into 2020, because that's a big, huge word right now.
Huge topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I believe that mental health is the new physical health, right? Like how many of us were taught about our mental health growing up versus our physical health?
Yeah, no one.
You know, and I know that I know that the world's ready. People are talking about it. I was so drawn to this movement and this company 2 years ago because of the way they were talking about mental wellness. It's not mental illness, it's mental wellness.
Right.
And I believe that, you know, our gut and our brain and the axis in between are so important for us to focus on in order for us to be mentally well.
Right.
And so, yeah, this company, Amare Global, just the people that started it, their stories around why. There's so many different stories of people that are struggling behind the scenes, as I'm sure you know.
I think if you just talk about mental wellness, like everybody struggles with stress, anxiety, depression, like, you know, all these things that go into it, but everybody's really like, hey, I'm going to go to the doctor so they can give me some medication.
Yes.
Versus trying alternative methods, you know, like these products, you know, that you're talking about that are working on your gut so that it can clear up a lot of the stress in that area so you can think clearer, you're sharper.
Yes.
You know, you're getting rid of anxiety and depression. And so
naturally.
Yeah. And that's what's really cool to me is like you're kind of like leading the charge on this with, you know, that company. But I also want people to know there's alternatives to like, look, you don't have to take medication to get rid of stress. In fact, it's probably going to end up giving you more just in some other area of your body, such as your stomach.
Yes. I mean, I grew up with functional medicine doctors, naturopaths, chiropractors, and I have some MDs in my family too. And I know the difference. And I believe that, you know, the world again is ready now to figure out what the other solution is, because we know that prescription drugs are covering up the symptom and the symptom's still there. So if we can repair and rebuild and do all of these other things that our bodies were meant to do, because our bodies, as you know, were meant to thrive. Right. And just like when you get a cut on your arm, it heals. Your body's meant to heal on its own. It's a powerful machine, our bodies, right? And, you know,
taking medication stops and regulates the healing process.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of times, especially in these cases, and it kind of shuts down our ability to, you know, eliminate stress and things like that. And
and you know, when I went through my cancer, you know, season, and I was learning so much in the natural space, and I was learning that, you know, everything that we put in our body, our cells regenerate every day by what we put in our body. Right. And I was so excited to just learn about the gut, about the axis in between. I just didn't hear anybody really talking about it and really helping others to understand that we don't have to just cover it up. And, you know, I also believe that, you know, so many things are lifestyle induced. Right. It's only, I think it's like 98% of disease is lifestyle induced and 2% is, passed down like through your DNA. You know, a lot of times people
genetics
say, genetics. Yeah. I mean,
this runs in my family.
Yeah. Like my mom had heart disease or my dad had diabetes. And we know now that, no, it was more that your mom or dad had a certain lifestyle and that got passed down.
You adopted that lifestyle.
Exactly. So I'm like super pumped up about this company because I just believe that mental wellness is we're just at the beginning of talking about it. And people, I mean, grown men and women that are silently suffering and then their kids are suffering. It's time to just bring it out in the light and like, let's get healed the way that we were meant to get healed.
Right. Okay. So we got two last things. So you have a Live Out Loud retreat.
Yes.
And you have a, is it Live Out Loud mastermind?
Yes. An elite mastermind.
Elite mastermind. Yep. Can you talk a little bit about your retreat and kind of like what that's all about? Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing what's happened and the people that are coming in and the women that are drawn to this message. You know, it's really about bringing women together that want to go to the next level in their life, their business, their faith, their fitness, nutrition, and really encouraging and inspiring each other and being able to be in a safe space to just really feel amazing about themselves for a moment. So the retreat first, it's usually attached to my mastermind. Sometimes I do it separately. Sure. Sometimes I do it together. But with the retreats alone, I just love to spoil women and make them feel like the queen that they are. And so many times busy women, whether you're working or a mom, they just don't take that time to feel special and, just feel safe around other women that want them to win. And so I really vet out women through an application process and make sure that they have the right heart first, because I'm not impressed with, I'm not looking for a certain caliber of
money or
No. And it's everybody has goals. Everybody needs, wants to get to the next level in their goals in business. Again, maybe marriage, maybe nutrition, definitely faith. But it's like women coming together that really share a similar heart, meaning most of them are women that just want to stand up and say out loud what they want in their life. And they just need some other women around them to be like, yes, you go girl. Or, I curate a group of women that I know without a doubt, all of them will support each other. If they're posting on social, if they're trying out a new venture, if they want to, create their own new personal brand, or they need to continue to grow their network. These are women that it's an expectation. Like we all have each other's, I say, we have each other's front, back, and sides. Yeah. When you're protected by people, and it doesn't happen enough with women. Sometimes oftentimes when we go into a group setting with women, it's very hard to like really get the
open up and just feel have accepted. That vulnerability.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always have an element of fitness. I think you'll be doing our boot camp, which I'm really excited about this next one at the Ritz Laguna Niguel. So I'm glad you accepted the invitation because I know you'll really
we might turn into a spiritual boot camp.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And then, it's everything around faith, business, knowing like what you want and why, and just mapping out your goals and making sure that there's an accountability piece. Because when you show up every day and a lot of times I'll have women say out loud what they want. There's so much power because there's so much in us that we never get out. And people, I shouldn't just say women, people in general just want to be heard. And when you can stand in a crowd or a group and just say out loud what you want, now you have to take responbility.
Yeah, you're kind of like setting your claim in a sense.
Totally.
Of like, hey, I'm taking a stand for what I want.
Yes.
And I'm going to shout at the rooftops. Yeah. I don't know if you ever read the book Circle Maker.
Oh, that's one of my favorite books.
But this kind of reminds me of, drawing the circle and drawing yourself in that circle and putting yourself in there and stating like what you want.
I love that book.
So,
so good.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah. So he's good.
All right. Well, so we talk about this habit of faith, but how do you you've shared a couple things of how you practice this every day. One things that I got out of it was like, hey, every day I'm waking up, I'm in my prayer, I'm praying for, this vision that I have for my life. But what's another way that you are, practicing this faith every day?
One of the habits that I do every single day, I do this power hour where, I definitely spend time with myself for an hour. Like I'm in, reading my favorite book, podcast, I'm praying. I'm, drinking water, room temperature water. I have like a whole, method to my madness to feel really great once I'm up and running. But the biggest thing is I have these I am statements or I declare statements.
Okay.
And I readjust them every season that we're in for myself and for Brett. And I literally, like right now I have 4.
Okay. So give them to me.
Okay. I actually have them on my phone.
Come
just
on.
in case
No phone.
Oh, okay. Well, they're backed by Bible verses. That's why I was going to bring up the Bible verses. Can I read it
go
off?
ahead.
Okay. So the first one is, I am powerful, strong, and full of joy. And the reason why I wanted to bring my phone, because I always back up mine by a Bible verse. So I say today, I am powerful, strong, and full of joy. And then the Bible verse that backs it up is Nehemiah 8:10. And it says, the joy of the Lord is my strength and stronghold. And then I wrote, Lord, help me to be joyful and of good cheer. Because everyone thinks I'm just like happy all the time and joyful and full of good cheer.
Yeah.
But it takes some work. I've got some anger in me and some frustration and overwhelm. Sure. So I have to speak that out every day. Okay. Number 2, I am unstoppable. This is a word I kept seeing in 2019. And I just felt like anytime I was hitting a wall, I'm like, no, I am unstoppable. And in the Bible, it says in 1 Corinthians 15:58, it says, be firm, steadfast, and immovable. So to me, I'm like, that's unstoppable. Okay. God's given me that power. So I'm just going to say I am unstoppable.
Yeah, that was a big word for me last year too.
It was?
Yeah.
Really?
Do you remember, what's the song by...
Carrie Underwood?
No.
Is that Unstoppable?
There's another group that has a song that's called Unstoppable. See? Yeah. We'll have to play it.
I'll pass this Bible verse on over to you. And then number 3 is, today, I know that God has given me a spirit of power, love, discipline, and self-control. Those are all, it's like several things, but I need all that I can get.
Yeah, that's amazing. So these are I am statements.
Right.
And you do these every day.
Every day.
Same one. Do you recreate a new
whenever
like 4 or 5 every
quarter, like when we're feeling. So what we do is I read them to myself out loud in front of Brett every morning, and Brett then reads it over me. We don't back it by the Bible verses. I just have them in here for backup in case I'm feeling a little cranky. And Brett's like, I'm like, I don't feel like that. I don't say that often, but I'm kind of like, he's like, why don't you read that Bible verse underneath to confirm it? And then I do the same for him. He reads it and then I read it over him. And there's just power in it every morning to do that together, even if we don't feel like it, because we hold each other accountable to that.
Sure.
So I'll read, can I read one more?
Ahead.
My 4th is this is a big one for this year because we want to give more this year.
Right.
So this one says, I am a cheerful giver. I'm releasing supernatural joy by giving more. I'm grateful to be blessed to be a blessing. And there's a Bible verse, Acts 20:35. It's more blessed to give than receive. Nothing releases supernatural joy more than giving. So it's just
awesome.
Just for us to stay accountable to why we want to give and the joy that comes from that and what we were destined to do.
Sure.
And so we just,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love it. I remember going to a program where you made an I am statement, purpose statement, and there was another statement, but you put them all into one.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember saying that for like 120 days straight, or I think it was 6 months straight when I was like going through selling my gym. But it was kind of like, hey, here's this North Star that you need to stay focused on.
Yeah.
Like
Did
every
it change
day.
you? Did it shift you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I still know it like to this day. Yeah. Like I'm sitting here thinking like, okay,
what is it?
I'm a powerful, loving, creative man of light. My purpose is to empower and inspire trust. Therefore, I create joy, peace, passion, love, and abundance in this world.
And you did.
Yeah.
Well, because I will say there's a lot of talk about like people will say, I don't just do I am statements and think something's going to happen. I want to be really clear. I always believe you have to back it up with action. And that's the whole point of saying it out loud because you're holding yourself. But
an intention is what starts before the action. Yes. And you have to set the intention before you do the action.
Absolutely.
And that's really, what I'm hearing is like, okay, look, it doesn't matter what other people say because your results are, what your results are. Yeah. So it's like they can say whatever they want, but like, hey, it's obviously working for you.
Right.
So that's the only thing that you need.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Yeah.
well, hey, I want to thank you for being on
you.
here. It was amazing getting
Thank
to interview you and just know more about you.
Yeah,
So
I appreciate it.
how
It's fun.
can people find out more about you?
BrookeThomas.com is everything's there. And then on Instagram, Live Out Loud Brooke, and then the Live Out Loud Show podcast. So
Yeah.
I'm going to have you on next. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
So,
So
all right.
thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So it was a pleasure having you on. If you guys are looking to connect further with a group of like-minded people, join myself and so many others in the Habit-Based Lifestyle Secrets group on Facebook, where we take a deep dive into your habits, your patterns, and so many other things. And if you're looking to be one of our next case studies, or you want to leave us a 5-star review, because I love those, feel free to reach out to me, jesse@habitbasedlifestyle.com. Until next episode, have a great day.
The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse